We made it. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. It is the end of 2019, the end of the decade, and I decided we're gonna close out this year with a studio tour, the 2019 edition. So let's do this. What's up, YouTube? First and foremost, I hope everyone had a great holiday. I know we had a great Christmas, and I hope you did as well. Whatever you celebrated, I hope you guys had a great time with friends and family. But as we all know, tomorrow rings in a new year, actually in this scenario, a new decade. So there's a couple of things we're gonna actually accomplish today before we start celebrating and start popping the bubbly, as they say. I'm gonna do two things in today's video. I'm gonna take you through a quick studio tour. I'm also gonna be announcing the winner of the small rig multi-tool giveaway, and that will be announced at the end of the video, so make sure you stay tuned to see who won that contest. Over the last couple months, I've had people comment on my videos asking about my lighting, asking about a studio tour, what's my current YouTube setup, and so I figured this would be a fun way to end the year, kind of document what my studio is in 2019, because we all know I like to change things around, so 2020 may be a completely different thing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, and I'm actually gonna start on things that are behind me on my wall back here. Now, I do have some shelves back here. These are just kind of Target shelves. I do have an old Minolta lens. I always like the look of this lens, and so that's why it's more of a decor lens. I don't ever use it because it's not the greatest lens ever. I also have Ron Swanson back here. He is often my model in my videos. I love Parks and Recreation, and so that's my little homage to Ron or Nick, is my Ron Swanson pop figure. Behind that, I have an old Holga film camera. This is actually not mine, this is Savannah's. She inherited it from her grandfather, and I figured it'd be a great set piece back here. But other than the set decorations, more importantly back here is my lighting. I've talked about this briefly before, but there has been some updates since I've talked about my lighting. I have a whole lighting video that talks about my Falconized 28TD, so definitely check that out. I'll put that up in the card here as well. But I have made some updates since that video. I'll start with the Edison bulb up here over to my left. This just gives more of a tungsten, warm vibe. I've always loved the look of this bulb. It also offers contrast to my Aperture M9 over here that's actually hanging out in this shelf over to my right. And what that does is it creates that kind of teal and orange or blue and orange vibe going on behind me, a little bit of contrast there, just for some accent lighting, creating a little bit of interest. If you've been with the channel for a while, I did just rock the Edison bulb for a while and just a black wall. And this just creates a little bit more excitement, a little just pop of color, a little bit of pop of lighting. A new addition as of yesterday. A few months ago, I did a review of some cheap lighting for video, and I'm actually using that on my closet wall over on this side, which is giving a little bit of pop to the camera that's over here. I realized as I was editing my last video that when I start color grading my video, you kind of can't see this camera. So I decided to put a little bit of light onto the camera so you can see it just a little bit better, even though it's potentially blurred out because of bokeh. Details. Now my key light I have talked about before, it's the Falconized 28TD. It is a bicolor light. I love this light for one primary reason of the fact of its size. It is so small. I said it in that review video, it is tiny, and for somebody that has an office, and you'll potentially see a little bit of panning around the office, it's not a big office. And so when I'm tight on space, this is a really great solution for a key light. It's not a huge softbox, it's a little LED light that has built-in diffusion, so it offers that compact size, but also a lot of power. I have this right now, I think at like 25%, and it's lighting me pretty well. So the Falconized 28TD, I think it still sits around $200, and it has that built-in diffusion, so really great small light for smaller YouTube sets like this. So next up is my audio. I'm gonna pull this into frame, currently using a Rode Video Micro for my audio. Over the last year or so, I've used a couple different variations of audio, trying to get the best audio from my setup. I've used a lapel mic that's plugged straight into the camera. I've used a Tascam DR40 with a condenser mic, and that created good audio, but the reason I'm actually using this now is because I found with the Tascam DR40, it was really hard to get that audio loud and punchy. And so I've gone back to plugging straight into the camera. Sony actually has pretty decent preamps in their cameras. And so I'm able to plug this Rode Video Micro straight into camera and actually produce some good audio. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for a professional shoot, but for me, it works. So I have a Rode Video Micro, and I'm gonna take this back out of frame and readjust. What I'm using to mount the mic is a normal desk boom arm, but I'm using an old tripod that broke to basically use the C-clamp part of that boom arm and clamp it down to that old tripod. So that's one thing that I've made that really isn't intended to be that way. Just making do of an old tripod that was sitting there that was broken and using it for a mount for this desk boom arm. So moving from audio, let's talk about video. So you may already know I use an A7 III with a Rokinon 24mm f2.8. I feel like it gives me a good wide angle to the shot. I love this camera, and I honestly debated on doing the review of this camera to close out the year, but I just did a review on the Canon EOS M, and I didn't want to do a lot of camera bodies back to back to back. So in 2020, that's definitely something to look forward to, is my review of the A7 III. And if you're interested, let me know, because I may do a video on my settings for the A7 III to get this shot, as well as any B-roll I may take. And that also includes for the A6000. If you guys are interested in any of those settings, let me know what I'm using to get these shots with either of these two cameras, or even the Canon EOS M for that matter. But focusing on just the gear, I'm using the A7 III with a Rokinon 24mm f2.8. And of course, as a Sony shooter, I don't have a flip up screen. The A7 III does not have a flip up screen, unlike like the 6400 or 6600. So to see myself, I actually have a FeelWorld MA5, which is a small monitor. And I love this monitor. It has a lot of cool features. I have a review on that as well that I'll link up in the corner. But this is what I'm using to basically make sure my composition is good, make sure my exposure is good without having to do a lot of test shots on the camera going back and forth. I talked about that last week, where before I got a monitor, I had to like do test shots, make sure everything was the way it needed to be. This just cuts down on that. Really, really helpful. So the FeelWorld MA5 is the monitor I'm using. And also one thing I love about the A7 III is I can monitor my audio straight in the camera. Now that being said, the FeelWorld MA5 can also monitor audio. So if you have a camera that does not have the ability to monitor audio, and you pick up the FeelWorld MA5, you can monitor audio through that as well. But to monitor my audio, I just have a pair of Apple EarPods. Simple, easy. Just lets me know I'm not having like a buzz or something crazy like that. So my camera is currently sitting on a newer tripod with a newer fluid head. The tripod does not come with the fluid head, it's a little bit extra. I'm gonna put a link to all these products down below, but this is a great setup, very robust setup, and also great for budget conscious people like myself trying to look for a good video tripod. So I've got the lighting, camera, tripod, audio. So this is the most DIY, and that is to help my audio. I actually have a couple of moving blankets right behind my camera. One thing that's hard about this office space is I have hardwood floors. I don't put a ton of furniture in here because I just don't like the aesthetic of having a lot of clutter and a lot of things around. Now, don't confuse that with thinking that this office is always clean. It is not. That's why also you're not seeing that wall. It is very messy. I like it to be very minimalistic. I like it to be very clean. And so I don't have a ton of stuff in here. So to kind of help with that, I put some moving blankets. And if you're not familiar with like the DIY around moving blankets, if you want to spend a little bit more, you have acoustic blankets, which what that does is it helps deaden the sound. Generally speaking, you'll put acoustic blankets behind your mic so it creates less bounce of the frequency of your voice going through the mic and behind the mic and bouncing back. But with that, acoustic blankets are very expensive. And so one thing to help kind of DIY it and spend a little bit less money is using moving blankets. Now I will say moving blankets aren't as dense, but they do cut down the reverb just a little bit. It's not perfect. And so you don't hear a ton of echo. You may hear some, but you don't hear a ton of echo. I also have one on my door. I've debated on putting some of my closet doors back here as well as my window. I use these to also cut down on the light that's coming from the window. A part of a studio setup is you want to control the lighting. And so this also helps control the lighting as well. Now I could go the route of properly sound treating this office, but one, it does cost a little bit more money. And also I share this office with Savannah. She sews in this office and she has told me that I'm not allowed to put ugly things on the wall. So this helps cut down the audio, as well as I'm able to tear all of it down, pack all of it up. Now I do want to get to a point where maybe I have a designated studio where I don't have to tear everything down and put everything up every time. But for now, this works for me. And this is why I want to take this 2019, closing out 2019 studio tour, because maybe next year, 2020, who knows? I might be in a new space. I might have a designated studio, so maybe a little bit different. So currently speaking, this is what my studio looks like. This is my current setup. If you have any questions about any of these things, let me know in the comments below. Now to backtrack, one thing I didn't mention about the moving blankets is they are on 2 light stands with some PVC piping running across them. I use some heavy duty clamps on the PVC piping to hold the blanket up. So that's my setup. I think that's everything. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is the closet. This is my gear closet over to the right, but I don't want to make this a really long video. So if you're interested in the gear closet, the things I'm using, the gear that I have, I've done some videos on like the lenses I'm using, but obviously I have other gear. If you're interested in my gear closet, let me know in the comments below as well. If you're not, we just won't make that video. So that being said, that's a quick tour of my studio, all the decoration, all the lighting, all the audio, everything that goes into it. I set this up every week when I shoot. It probably adds about 30-40 minutes in the setup and teardown process. So yeah, I would like maybe a space where I can just leave it set up, but currently this is where I am. And I'll say that as an encouragement to you, like make what you have and make the space that you have work. Make the space that you're in work for you. You know, I'm not a big YouTuber. I'm not gonna move into a space until it financially makes sense. And so this is where I am. This is what I have. And honestly, this is not even what I started my channel with. This is after 2 years of collecting gear and trying to better myself on YouTube. So if you're just starting out on YouTube in 2020, like start with a phone, start with window lighting. You don't have to have all of this to start creating content. So honestly, if you're starting YouTube in 2020, I would advise use your phone, get a lapel mic, and just start going with it. That's what I started with. Now I did get some studio lighting and I talked Savannah into letting me get some studio lighting, but honestly, I started with a phone and a lapel mic and that did the job. Like I said, this is years of collecting gear and talking about gear and keeping some of the gear that I talk about to make my videos just a little bit better. So I hope this has been helpful for you of just kind of giving you an idea of what goes into making my videos. But we're not done yet. I'm not gonna close out the video quite yet because we do need to announce the small rig multi-tool giveaway winner. So hold please. First and foremost, oh, and I also didn't mention I use a desk sometimes and that's back here. I don't really like it, but it's there. So with that being said, small rig multi-tool giveaway winner. You're not just going to get the small rig multi-tool. I actually got a couple other items in here for you. I have one thing, which is a Go Find Your Journey, Go Embrace Life sticker. These are available in my store if you're interested in these, check them out. But the winner does get, I think I put like 2 or something in there. So you have some stickers. You also get an Anson & Co. pin. These I made a long time ago. These are also available in my store. I think they're like $5. I don't remember how much these are. I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But these are also available in the store, but the winner will get at least one of these, maybe 2. I might throw in a second one. And then of course, the small rig multi-tool. So who is the lucky winner? I'm going old school for this. No like digital determining winner. No like algorithm that determines a winner. No. I have a coffee mug that has a list of names in here. And yes, I hand wrote these names before this video. So small things. So who won? I'm not gonna look. Amanda Woolsey. Amanda Woolsey, you have won the small rig multi-tool giveaway. I will hit you up on either Twitter or Instagram to get some contact information, but congratulations to Amanda. You won the small rig multi-tool giveaway. Now this makes me just want to go drink coffee, so I'm gonna go do that. But before that, make sure if you enjoyed this video to give it a like. If you're digging the content coming from the channel, consider subscribing. And as always, go and find your journey, go embrace life, go have a very happy new year. I hope you guys do great things in 2020. I'll see you here next time. Peace. Oh, also, before I go, I wanted to mention that Savannah killed it for Christmas. One, she helped me buy my DJI Ronin SC, but also she got me this cool hat from Horn and Heel. You guys know the knife maker that I often talk about that does my pocket knife as well as some fixed blade knives. They're also big into kitchen knives, so if you're interested in buying some locally made from North Carolina kitchen knives or chef's knives or potentially even some EDC knives, they have a couple of those. I'll put a link to their website below. So Savannah gave me one of the hats they recently put out. I love these guys, I love what they do, so definitely check them out. The other thing she got me was this ice cube maker that makes ice in the form of skulls, and I'm like, yes, thank you, my wife gets me. Love that woman so much. Savannah, thank you.